So Craig Fairbrass is a Brit actor that I feel needs no introduction. However, I'll give him a little bit of one right now. Going all the way back to Sylvester Stallone's Cliffhanger when he played a Brit thug who didn't know that football's actually called football, because for some reason he called it soccer and it pissed me off. Craig, I've never forgiven you for that. I am sorry. That is my fault, not yours. But over the last couple of years, Craig Fairbrass, is easy to say, has reached this career-defining point. He's right there on the precipice. You had his role in Avengement, which I absolutely loved. Avengement was a great Scott Adkins movie. You all know I'm a Scott Adkins fan. He's got Villain. You all know I like me some Phil Barantini because, you know, Villain was class. Was in, and that was kind of one of those movies that made me go, holy crap, maybe there's something else to Craig Fairbrass we haven't had a chance to see. And then, of course, he had his Foot Soldier movies. He was doing well with them. Muscle came out. Muscle was great. Very, very different movie. Like, not in terms of like what he's doing, and of course it is different in what he's doing, but it's just a different kind of Brit movie that I really got into and thought he was superb in it. So that was great. And then this comes round. We're going to talk about A Violent Man. Hello everybody, my name is Kevin Halden and this is Nerdly Out Loud, the official channel of nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home for all of your news, reviews and exclusive interviews. We like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget. I'm back in the studio, I'm loving this, I'm so glad to be back here and I'm so glad you guys are back to this video. This is a review. I had hoped my first video back was going to be a review, but then you got the Terry Stone interview, which was absolutely brilliant. I've been sat on that for a little while. So now I'm bringing you a review, and this review is one I have been waiting for so long to talk about. I got sent a screener a little while back of A Violent Man. Previously, this movie was called Aya. They kind of wanted to see what people were thinking. Ross McCall, this is a director I've been getting told about by Jesse Johnson for a little while, a guy that made Avengement and other great films. But he's been telling me for a little while, watch out for Ross McCall. When this guy makes his movies, this guy is going to hit. He's going to hit. So I was looking forward to it. We'll get into that in a quick hot second, but first of all, please do all those wonderful, amazing things that I always ask you to do. Please do hit that like, hit that subscribe, and ding that notification bell. The notification bell will let you know... Sorry, this seems like pretty high up. I'm just going to tilt a little bit. The notification bell will let you know whenever I drop a new episode, whether it's an interview, a review, or anything else. I got loads of other plans incoming. I'm trying some new stuff, and I can't wait to really get going with that. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the review proper, because I don't want to mess about. I just want to talk about this film. So let's roll into that.
And now, our feature presentation.
And as always, it has been a little while, so I am going to let you know the format of how I like to review things. It's the way I always do it. It's the way I'll keep doing it. We are going to talk about the plot of this movie. Not too much though, because you can't really talk about it without giving much away. We are then going to dive into cast and characters, which I can't wait to talk about. We will then dive into what I liked and what I didn't like, and round it out with my nerdly rating, which if you've seen the poster for this movie or the box art for this movie, you probably know what my nerdly rating is. We'll discuss that at the end. Starting with the plot of A Violent Man. It is pretty much what it says on the tin. Craig Fairbrass plays Steve Mackleson, a violent man. That's it. That's all you need to know. No, there's way more to it than that. This guy's been incarcerated in prison for some time now, and it's clear from the get-go when he gets his new cellmate Marcus Wainwright, played by Stephen Odubola. Probably crucified that name. I'm really sorry if I have. If I got it right though, please give me a thumbs up on the video. They all help. Always pimping, always pimping. So yeah, Marcus comes into his cell, and you kind of realize very quickly that Fairbrass is one of these guys. Steve Mackleson is one of these guys who, you know, he's done some shitty things in his life, but I feel like prison's made him harder. Like, it's really hardened him up, and it's taken away any sort of soft nougat-y center that he might have had. He's now just a shell of who he used to be. He has a certain reputation now, and he has to uphold that reputation. He's not going to let people think anything less of him, and he's going to keep that going. However, it does seem that Marcus could provide a little bit of sort of redemption for Steve. Maybe Marcus is the kind of guy he should be around. Instead of guys like Frank Gillespie, played by Jason Flemyng, who just seems to want to tell him what he wants to hear. And also, he has a daughter that he's never seen who's now come into the fray, and she wants to meet him, but he doesn't really want to meet her, because why would anybody want to meet this guy? So there's a little bit of inner conflict. It's really, really interesting the way we're told these things, and we see what we feel is a slow unraveling for Steve, because of course it's a movie, so things have to progress. We need an arc, and is Steve's arc going to be that he's going to come round? He starts helping Marcus in the way he knows how to help him. It's not necessarily the best way to help people, but it's his way. He has a few meetings with people who are trying to talk him into meeting his daughter and having that chat. And it's just like, that is the movie in a nutshell, is the struggle the man is dealing with, all the while, like, leaving you as a viewer, and I think Steve as well, is redemption possible? And if it is, does he want it? But I don't really want to get too much further into plot-wise or anything like that, because this movie, for me, where it lives and where it breathes, is not necessarily in the plot. It has a good story. I liked the story. I could relate to the story. I thought it was great. But where it lies and where it lives is in the performances. And that's where I'll go next. Starting, of course, with Craig Fairbrass, who is sensational. I've said before, I've said in a few reviews now, and I've said in a few interviews where I've been speaking to people, Craig Fairbrass is in the form of his life. You can forget about those EastEnders days, and I'm not taking anything away from when he was in that show. I am not, because he was always great as Dan Sullivan. He was a great character. He portrayed it as best he could. He was brilliant in it. And then we've seen him play Pat Tate on the screen for some years now. And then Muscle came round, Villain came round, and now this movie. He's been on a trajectory over the last 4 or 5 years that is undeniable. Craig Fairbrass is in the form of his career right now. And it feels to me like A Violent Man is that movie that he was just waiting for. That a director like Ross McCall was just waiting to give him the shout and say, right, you're maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's the stage he's at. You are at that stage in your career where it is time for you to make this movie. It is time for you to play Steve Mackleson. It is time. Let's do this. Let's do it. Let's knock it out the park like I know you can. And he's superb. He's fantastic. Some of the conversations that you're having in this movie are so, like, there's layer upon layer upon layer, and we don't quite know where Steve sits in his own head right now. And I love the way he's doing this and the nuanced way that he portrays these conversations. The relationship with Jason Flemyng is clearly one of, like, Flemyng just knows that this guy is the guy to be around. But if something does go wrong, I do get the feeling Fleming's going to run off like a sniveling little rat. He might do that. I don't know. We don't know that. It's, you know, and then the conversations that he has with Marcus when he's trying to help him out, but Marcus is being pulled in another direction. Because yes, this is Fairbrass's movie, but Stephen Odubola is also getting some meaty dialogue with some great little scenes. So I take nothing away from his performance either. He is really, really good in the movie. It's just hard when you're going up against the guy who's commanding the frame the way he does. And let's be honest, every single frame in this movie, you know, whether it's done on purpose or not, there's cinematographers, you've got DOPs, that is their job. But every single frame in this movie doesn't waste a moment. It doesn't waste an inch. It is giving you everything you need. And right in the middle of that frame or to the side, but always filling that frame is a blistering powerhouse performance from Craig Fairbrass that had me, at times, rocked to the core. Is this movie perfect? No, it's not perfect. No movie's ever perfect. But the performance he's giving for me, and I'll explain when I get to my what I did and didn't like section a little bit more about that, but what he's doing in this movie for me is nothing short of perfection. So we spoke about Jason Flemyng for a second there, and he's great, he's awesome, he always is awesome. He's an actor you can absolutely rely on, absolutely depend on. Turning up in Boiling Point with Stephen Graham, Phil Barantini's movie, we'll talk about that in a second, but turning up in that movie, absolutely brilliant, does the job. A couple of years back when Pennyworth started, and then he turned up in Pennyworth, the man can play anything. He's been doing it for years. He is a quintessential Brit actor, and just one of those performers that if you've got him in your movie, he's going to knock out of the park. Whether it's a small role, a big role, an understated role, an eccentric role, Jason Flemyng's going to knock out of the park for you. Ulrich Thomsen as Governor Goodwillie, who takes up a good portion of the trailer, by the way. When you watch the trailer, he takes up a very good portion of the trailer, and there's a reason for that. He's got some pretty good dialogue, some nice little monologues. I genuinely liked them. I really, really did. So it was great to see him in there, and he was doing a really, really good job. And then, of course, you have something that absolutely knocked me for six, which was, I don't know why it knocked me for six, because he's worked with Craig Fairbrass, he's worked with Ross McCall, he's worked with all these guys, and he turned up here, Mr. Phil Barantini, Stephen Odubola. I'm not gonna wax too much lyrical about him anymore. He is wonderful, plays the part of Marcus superbly. I was never really certain where Marcus was in this movie. I didn't know if he was gonna help Craig Fairbrass, if he was gonna be that redemption character that helps him get through things. But he plays it well. He plays it superb. I really enjoyed him in this movie. There's a couple of good scenes for him. So what I did and what I didn't like. There's not much that I didn't like about the movie. If anything, I think towards the start, it does sort of meander its way through. It is sort of taking its time. And I was kind of just dude, okay, I'm getting the picture of the character here. I'm getting the point. You're knocking this out the park. But that's the thing though. When you're giving a performance like this, I think sometimes it's quite easy to look at someone who's giving you everything on the screen, and you don't want to waste a moment of it. You want to put it all in there. To that point though, I do feel like there's a couple of little scenes that, just to quicken up the pace of the start of the movie, I think you could have maybe got rid of. I think you maybe could have done away with it. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's not perfect, but it just felt like it slowed things down towards the start, which I know is your buildy moment, but I guess I kind of felt like I already knew what this character was within about 5-10 minutes. I'm sitting there thinking, I know this guy. I've seen many movies portraying this character, and okay, so something I've never really spoken about on the channel or on my videos, and I've only ever really sort of passively joked about it on the podcast or anything like that, is that my dad was somewhat of a career criminal, so I kind of know this character already. And I'm not saying when you find out what he's in prison for, I'm not saying that he did anything quite as bad as this, but yeah, I kind of knew this character, and I kind of knew the feeling of being not the feeling of being locked up, but I kind of knew how it probably feels after having been told many stories. So that's what I mean. I didn't need that extra 2 minutes of staring out of the window, although for some people that would be awesome, and it looks artsy as hell, and it's great. Just to me, I already knew. Again, this isn't on the director, this isn't on the DOP, this isn't on Fairbrass, it's not on anyone. It's just a case of, I was like, I think I know this character, let's move, let's go, let's do this. What I really, really did like, there is the whole through line with Craig Fairbrass's daughter. And this conjures up quite a few conversations within the movie. You've got a prison therapist that comes in, or a lawyer. I forget what she is, but she comes in to talk to Craig, talk to Steve, and tell him that your daughter wants to come and meet you. That she wants to talk to you about things. Maybe it would be good for you, good for her. Maybe you should do it. You have that conversation. You have the conversation with Jason Flemyng, where sort of Fleming's the one that is listening to Steve, and Steve's telling him that all the reasons why she shouldn't come and see him, or why he shouldn't see her, and Flemyng just sort of agreeing, puts up a little bit of resistance in moments, but for the most part sort of agreeing. He is his sounding board. And then you have a conversation with Ross McCall, who is his brother, and that conversation's completely different because he's McCall, as his brother Luke, is basically just like, dude, why would anybody want to see you? Like, he's the polar opposite of the Gillespie character, which is needed. And that scene is my second favourite scene in the movie. These two guys sat across the table. They can both act. We all know Ross McCall can act. He doesn't do enough. He is a wonderful, wonderful actor, and I want to see him do more. But to be fair, if this is what he's going to do when he's directing, just give me more movies to direct, please. I'll watch anything you make. Let's check it all out. But that scene's a fantastic scene. My second favourite scene in the movie. My favourite scene in the movie, I'm not going to talk about because it's huge spoilers. Massive lump in my throat. And when I say to you right now, down the camera, I have been and lived that moment. And for me, it just resonates and it hits home in a way that a lot of these movies can't because they don't know. I don't know if Ross McCall's been in the similar situation or and he knows this, or if he's just drawing from other people around him. But I was able to relate to this movie in a huge way, a huge way. So when it comes to my all-round rating, there's no two ways about it. I'm giving it a 5. I'm always going to give it a 5. I think this movie, for a directorial debut, is flawless. He's come out the gate, Ross McCall, and he's not new to directing. I believe he's done shorts or whatnot, and he's turned his hand to directing before, behind the camera. He's turned his hand to it before. But this is his like debut feature that is all his, written by him, directed by him, plays a part in it. I've got a lot of respect for directors who come out with their first movie. Yes, it's low budget. Yes, it's independent. But not one point in this movie do you ever feel like it's low budget or independent. I think Ross McCall's done a great job here. I am super impressed with this movie. It took me on a journey that I didn't know I was going to go on when I started watching it. I put it on thinking, yeah, we've got like an American Me situation here. We've got American History X situation here. We've got a movie that I've seen countless times, but it was told in such a way that I genuinely felt it was fresh. It was original. It was new. That means you've done your job. You've absolutely done your job, which is why I give this movie 5 out of 5. When I got to the end of this film and I got that moment at the end of the movie, it couldn't be anything else. Like, it couldn't be. And if I'm gushing, I'm gushing. I do apologise. I do get accused of that quite a lot when I truly love a movie. I get accused of going out and pushing it out there to the world. That's why I'm here, though. Like, I don't work for Empire. I don't work for the Hollywood Reporter. I ain't a Rotten Tomatoes certified mega critic, you know. I'm just a film fan who fucking loves films. And when you give me a movie that makes me feel the way this movie made me feel and takes me on a journey the way that this movie took me, you deserve all the plaudits. You deserve all the credit, and I'm giving it to you. So take it, do with it as you will, and please come back with another movie just as strong as this. Fairbrass, you were wonderful. McCall, I think you've made a cracking film here for your directorial debut. I hope it gets received very well. I hope everyone takes to it. Stephen Odubola, I think this is the first movie I've seen you in. I'm pretty sure it is. And I thought you were brilliant. Jason Flemyng, you're always brilliant. Phil Barantini, whoop, whoop. You're in there. I loved you. And Hector Hardin Bateman, a young actor who was in Mark Zammett's Homeless Ashes. You'll remember Homeless Ashes if you've been following me. I championed that movie for a while. Like, I was all about that film. Hector Bateman was young Frankie in that film. He was great. I interviewed Hector. He's like 40 years like ahead of the age he's at right now. 100%. What a little man who's just totally a world of wisdom in this little kid. He was awesome. He turns up in this movie, only like a fleeting couple of scenes, but it was cool to see him and I recognized him straight away, so that's brilliant. Yeah, just I love the film. I thought the film was great. I'm not going to gush too more about it. I do feel like I'm going on a bit too much. But anyway, yes, please do all of those fantastic, wonderful, wonderful things, which is to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. The notification bell will let you know whenever I drop another interview or another review or anything else that I am trying out on the channel. You will find out. This movie, A Violent Man, comes out on the 4th of February. Please do check it out. I think you will love it. As far as Brit movies goes, you're not going to find much better right now at all. You're not going to find anything better on the shelf right now at all. So grab it, watch it, love it, hit them up on all the socials and let them all know they've done a great job. Craig Fairbrass is pretty good on social media. He's always liking things and everything like that. Won't come on the podcast though. Well, that's another conversation. But please do check it out. I'm going to go and I will see you in the next video.